Hi, I'm Annabelle Thorpe and I'm delighted to be with you today to share with you my new novel, The Enemy of Love, set in Umbria in Italy in 1943, one of the most dramatic periods of World War II. My novel tells the story of the De Luca and the Capaldi families and the trattoria that they run and own together, Casa Maria, that's at the heart of everything that happens in the small town of Amatino where they live. Sophia di Luca hopes to take over and run the trattoria when her father passes away and carve out an independent life, very different from what was expected of women in Mussolini's Italy at the time. But her plans go awry when Giorgio Capaldi comes back from Rome and insists that he is the one that should take the trattoria over. The extract I'm going to share with you is when Giorgio first comes back to Amatino and Sophia realises that her future may not be quite as straightforward as she had hoped. Before she can finish speaking, the kitchen door swings open and a tall, broad-shouldered man in a crumpled shirt and flour-dusted trousers barrels into the room, running his fingers through a mess of dark, curly hair. She's forgotten how Giorgio occupies a space, as if all the light swings in his direction, every particle and atom surging towards him to create a burst of warmth and energy. He looks younger than the last time she had seen him, bereft and hollow-eyed beside Father Massimo, as his old friend gave the eulogy before an empty altar. "Ciao, Giorgio. It's good to see you looking so well." "He looks like an unmade bed," says Eleanor, reaching up to touch her fingers to the flecks of grey stubble on his chin. "Don't they have scissors in Rome?" "They clearly have scissors here," he says, nodding at Sophia. "That's quite a look, Signorina De Luca. I bet your mother had something to say." "Do you like it?" She smiles, pushing up the cropped dark brown curls that barely touch her shoulders. "I did it for Papa. Life's short," he said. "If you want to make a change, just do it." "I heard you'd become quite the independent woman," says Giorgio. Luigi said he couldn't imagine running the restaurant without you." "You saw him?" Sophia frowns. "When?" "He hadn't been strong enough to leave Amatino for months." "He came in the spring," says Giorgio, glancing at Eleanor. He knew then, I think. Wanted to put his affairs in order. It was wonderful to see him. I still can't really believe he's gone." He presses his palms to his chest, his eyes blurring slightly. "But we must honour him in the way we know best. A feast, yes? Nonna, you have things in your cellar that haven't been seen in Rome for months. Guanciale, ricotta. Is there flour too? I can make focaccia." "That's very kind, but we already have everything planned," says Sophia firmly. "But you don't want to cook today," says Giorgio. "Go home and be with your mother and sister. There's no need for you to stay. I'm here now. Don't worry about a thing." "I'm not worried," said Sophia. "It's kind of you to offer, but Eleanor and I have everything planned. This is my kitchen now. The first meal I cook in it should be for Papa." "Certo, I understand. Today this is your kitchen." "Of course. I'll start tomorrow." Sophia frowns. "Start what tomorrow? Aren't you going back to Rome?" Giorgio glances at Eleanor, smiling awkwardly. No? Didn't Luigi tell you?" "Your father asked Giorgio to come back and run the restaurant," says Eleanor briskly. "What, nipote? We'll be here at Christmas if we waited for you to speak." "I was sure he'd have told you." Giorgio sits back on a bar stool and shrugs sheepishly. "You know what the place meant to him, Soph, and it supports both our families, particularly now. He was desperate to make sure Casa Maria would keep going after his death." "Of course it's going to keep going," says Sophia angrily. "I'm quite capable of running it. Papa knew that. We worked together every day for the last 2 years." "I know," Giorgio nods enthusiastically. "He said how wonderful you'd been, how hard you'd worked. He was so proud of you, cara. But you must see, you can't run the place on your own. It wasn't the life he wanted for you." "What about the life I want for me? Doesn't that matter? Are you seriously telling me I shouldn't run this place just because I'm a woman?" She glares at Giorgio. "I can tell you, for the last 2 years, I've wasted tables and cooked the dishes and written up the books and loved every minute of it. And the irony is, it's you I've to thank. If you hadn't disappeared and left Papa on his own, I'd never have had the chance to work here. Do you have any idea of the state he got into after you left? Working 18 hours a day trying to fill the gap you left behind? I know it was a hard time for you, but..." "A hard time?" Giorgio's face darkens, his lips drawn together in a tight, neat line. "A hard time? Angelina was killed, blown apart by an Allied bomb when I was hundreds of miles away. Can you imagine how it felt to be sent home, injured to find my wife is dead, that they buried her without me?" "Giorgio, I'm sorry. I didn't mean..." Forget it. He pushes the stall back and disappears through the kitchen door. Giorgio, don't, per favore. She follows him into the kitchen, her words falling away at the sight of the utter chaos that meets her eyes. It's as if a tornado has blown through the room, scattering tomato pips and herbs and globules of pasta dough across every surface and floor tile. Cupboard handles are dusted with flour, the sink stacked with pans. The top of the range is black with splatters of oil, blackened crumbs, and fragments of eggshell, the air heavy with heat and the scent of pastry. Well, you didn't waste much time, did you? Sophia, I'm sorry. Giorgio reaches up to the shelf and takes a bunch of keys, slipping them into his pocket. I understand you're angry. Luigi should have told you, but I am going to honour your father's wishes. I think you should too. I had no idea they were his wishes, says Sophia coldly. And unless he sold you our half the restaurant, Casa Maria still belongs to the De Lucas, just as much as the Capaldis, which means I have just as much right to be in this kitchen as you. You might get a little crowded, says Giorgio coolly. Not if you go back to Rome, unless you're happy to be my commis chef. I'm nobody's commis chef, he snaps. Well, you can't just waltz in here and take over. Who said anything about waltzing? Says Giorgio, pulling open the back door. But taking over is exactly what your father asked me to do. Enjoy your cooking, Signorina De Luca. From tomorrow, this kitchen is mine. So that's how they meet again, Giorgio and Sophia. To find out what happens next, you'll have to read the book.